The sun shone brightly over the small town of Willow Creek, where a picturesque church stood adorned with flowers in vibrant colors. Guests filled the wooden pews, their laughter and chatter mingling in the warm air. The scent of fresh blossoms wafted through the open doors, setting a romantic scene for the day's celebration. Tulle ribbons fluttered gently in the breeze, framing a simple yet elegant altar beneath a white arch. At the front, the groom stood nervously, his hands fidgeting with his tie as he stole glances toward the back of the church. The soft chime of bells rang out, signaling that it was almost time for the bride to make her entrance. As she appeared, a wave of gasps resonated among the onlookers. Dressed in a flowing white gown that sparkled in the sunlight, she looked like a vision from a fairy tale. Excitement surged through the crowd as she gracefully walked down the aisle, her heart pounding in rhythm with the love she felt for her soon-to-be husband. Friends and family beamed with pride and joy, whispering sweet words of encouragement. Yet, deeper inside her heart lay an unsettling tug of hesitation, a feeling she couldn't quite shake. Would this truly be her happy ever after? As they exchanged vows under the watchful eyes of their loved ones, everything felt perfect. But little did anyone know that this beautiful moment would soon take an unexpected turn, leading to chaos beyond imagination. As the bride stood before her groom, a smile plastered across her face. Her heart was a tempest of conflicting emotions. She could feel the warmth of the sun streaming through the church windows, but her palms were clammy and her stomach twisted in knots. The guests beamed with joy, but inside, she battled a profound sense of uncertainty. Was she truly ready for this life? With every word spoken during the ceremony, her mind drifted. She thought of long walks under starlit skies and the adventures she had dreamed of since childhood. Images of riding across open fields and exploring distant lands filled her thoughts, contrasting starkly with the life waiting for her after I do. How could she step into a life of routine and expectations when her heart yearned for freedom? The vows echoed around her, yet each promise felt like a chain binding her to a path she wasn't sure she wanted to take. She glanced at her groom, who looked at her with unyielding love and trust. He was everything she had ever wanted, kind, caring, and devoted. But that didn't silence the voice in her mind whispering doubts. As she held onto his hands, she felt a wave of panic wash over her. Was this truly what she wanted? A life defined by someone else's dreams? With every heartbeat, the weight of her decision pressed down on her, leaving her restless and yearning for a way out before it was too late. Just as the officiant raised his voice to pronounce the couple officially wed, the doors of the church swung open with a resounding bang. A gang of outlaws, clad in dust-covered leather and wide-brimmed hats, stormed inside, their presence casting a shadow over the joyous occasion. The laughter and chatter that had filled the air abruptly ceased, replaced by gasps of disbelief and terror. The bride's heart raced as she instinctively took a step back. Her dreams of adventure suddenly felt like they were unfolding in real time. This was not what she had envisioned for her wedding day. The outlaws brandished weapons, their eyes gleaming with mischief and menace. They shouted commands, demanding valuables from frightened guests while the groom stood frozen beside her, unsure of what to do. Chaos erupted as panic spread like wildfire. Guests scrambled for the exits, tripping over pews and each other in their frantic escape. The bride felt a surge of adrenaline. She didn't want to be just another victim today. She quickly scanned the room, searching for an escape route or a way to help. In that moment of upheaval, her earlier doubts about marriage faded into the background. This was her chance, an unexpected opportunity to reclaim control over her life. With determination igniting within her, she made up her mind. She wouldn't let this day define her future. She would seize the moment and ride away into the unknown, no matter what it took. With the chaos of the outlaws swirling around her, the bride's heart thumped loudly in her chest. In a split second, she knew she could no longer pretend to play the role everyone expected of her. The weight of tradition and obligation slipped away like a loose ribbon on her gown. She glanced at the groom, still paralyzed by shock, and felt a sharp pang of regret for what might have been. But she realized that today was not about submitting to fate. It was about taking a bold step toward her freedom. As she pushed through the frantic crowd, vivid images of galloping across open fields flooded her mind. She had always dreamed of adventure, and now, staring into uncertainty, she saw her chance. She sprinted toward the back doors of the church, where sunlight streamed in like an invitation. This moment wasn't just an escape from outlaws. It was a leap toward the life she truly wanted. Outside, her heart raced as she spotted her trusted horse tied to a nearby post. It felt like an old friend ready to carry her away from this unwanted wedding. With quick hands, she untied the reins and hopped onto the saddle with determination coursing through her veins. The world opened up before her like a vast canvas waiting for color. In that instant, as she kicked the horse into a gallop down the dirt path, she embraced independence and adventure at last. No chains to bind her, just endless possibilities ahead. As the bride urged her horse into a full gallop, the sound of pounding hooves thundered behind her. The outlaws, shouts ringing in the air, quickly mounted their own horses, determination etched on their faces as they set off in pursuit. The thrill of adrenaline coursed through her veins, fueling her speed as she navigated the dirt path lined with tall grass, aware that every second counted. The wind whipped through her hair, making her feel like she was flying, but the realization that danger was close behind kept her focused. She could hear the angry shouts of the outlaws growing louder as they closed in, their intentions clear. They weren't going to let her escape easily. She glanced over her shoulder and saw them gaining ground, eyes filled with wild excitement and malice. Heart racing, she leaned forward in the saddle, urging her horse to fly faster. The landscape blurred around her. Trees whipped by like shadows, and the sun-drenched fields stretched endlessly ahead. She knew she had to find a way to outsmart them before it was too late. With a sudden burst of inspiration, she veered left into a narrow trail that snaked through the forest. Branches scratched at her face and arms as she maneuvered expertly between the trees, hoping to lose her pursuers in the thick foliage. The sounds of hoofbeats crashed behind her, but the cover of the forest offered a chance for a hidden escape. Fueled by hope and desperation, she pressed on, determined to carve her own path to freedom. As the bride raced deeper into the forest, the sounds of galloping hooves faded behind her, but a new danger loomed ahead. Suddenly, she burst into a clearing where the outlaws had regrouped, their guns drawn and ready. The air was thick with tension as she realized she had nowhere to run. With courage rising within her, she pulled her horse to a halt and faced the attackers. The outlaws sneered, confident in their numbers, but she felt a fierce resolve take hold. This was no longer just about escape. It was about standing her ground. As one of them raised his weapon and fired a shot that whizzed past her ear, she instinctively ducked and shouted defiantly, "You'll have to do better than that." In a moment of inspiration, she reached for the small revolver tucked into her saddlebag, a gift from her father meant to symbolize protection. With shaky hands but steely determination, she aimed at the nearest outlaw and fired back. The shot rang out like thunder in the quiet forest, hitting its mark and sending shockwaves through both her body and spirit. The remaining outlaws hesitated for just a heartbeat, taken aback by her bravery. Seizing the opportunity, she urged her horse forward again, weaving through trees as gunfire erupted around her. In that chaotic dance of bullets and bravery, she felt alive, more than ever before, fighting for her freedom with every ounce of strength she possessed. As the gunfire roared around her, the bride fought valiantly against the outlaws, but she knew she couldn't win this battle alone. Just as a second attacker charged at her, she heard a sudden shout from the treeline. "Get down!" A figure leaped into the clearing, wielding a rifle with remarkable skill. It was a young man she barely recognized, Liam, a childhood friend from Willow Creek who had always been drawn to adventure. Liam dashed forward, using trees as cover as he aimed and fired at the outlaws, forcing them to retreat momentarily. The atmosphere shifted. Now there was a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. "I thought I lost you during the wedding," he yelled, his voice steady despite the tension. "Not yet," she replied, rallying at his presence. Together, they shared a brief glance that spoke volumes. In that moment, They were no longer just old friends but partners fighting for survival. With renewed determination, the bride took aim again, following Liam's lead as he expertly maneuvered through the fray. They exchanged fire with the outlaws, each shot fired bolstering their spirits. A sudden crack sounded nearby as one of the outlaws made a desperate attempt to flank them. But Liam was quicker. He redirected his aim and took him down with precision. The bride felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with gratitude for her unexpected ally. With Liam at her side, she realized that together they could face this threat head-on and carve a path to freedom. As the gunfight raged on, the bride and Liam found themselves pinned down behind a large tree, bullets whizzing past them. The outlaws were regrouping, their laughter echoing ominously in the clearing. In that tense moment, the bride felt a surge of clarity. She realized they couldn't simply wait for help. They needed to take the initiative if they were going to turn the tide. "Liam," she whispered urgently, "we need to create a diversion. I'll draw their attention while you flank them from the side." Her voice was steady, filled with newfound resolve. Liam hesitated for just a heartbeat, but her fierce determination spurred him into action. "Are you sure?" he asked, eyeing the growing number of outlaws. "Absolutely," she replied with confidence. In that instant, she knew this was her moment to shine. Taking a deep breath, the bride peeked out from behind the tree and shouted, "Hey, over here!" She fired her revolver toward the ground, creating an explosion of dirt and grass that grabbed the outlaws' attention. Their heads snapped toward her, surprised by her boldness. In that split second, Liam darted through the underbrush, expertly moving to get behind their attackers. The bride's heart thundered in her chest as she maintained their focus on her. With each shot she fired, she felt stronger and braver, knowing she was not just surviving but actively fighting back. The turning point had arrived. Together they would reclaim their freedom and face whatever came next with courage. As the bride continued to fire her revolver, she caught sight of Liam moving swiftly through the underbrush, his aim true and focused. The outlaws, now realizing they were being outmaneuvered, began to falter. With every shot fired, their confidence wavered, replaced by uncertainty as they glanced around in search of a way out. In a moment of boldness, the bride shouted, "This is our home. You'll not take it from us." Her voice rang through the clearing, resonating with strength and defiance. That single declaration seemed to ignite a fire within her and Liam. Together, they pushed forward, advancing on the outlaws with renewed vigor. The tide finally turned when one of the outlaws turned to flee, panic spreading among his companions. Seeing their leader's hesitation, the others began to retreat as well. The bride pressed on, leveraging the momentum of victory. "We can't let them get away," she urged Liam, her heart racing with adrenaline and exhilaration. With a final surge of courage, they closed in on the remaining attackers. In a whirlwind of movement and noise, the last outlaw dropped his weapon in surrender. The bride stood taller, victorious as she faced the group. Breathless but empowered, she looked at Liam, who grinned back at her with admiration. This fight had not just been about survival, it had been about taking control of her own destiny. As they stood together amidst the fading chaos, she realized that she had forged not only her freedom but a new path ahead, a life filled with adventure and purpose. As the fading echoes of gunfire settled into silence, the bride stood in the clearing, her heart racing but filled with a sense of triumph. The adrenaline that surged through her veins began to ebb, replaced by a profound clarity. She looked at Liam, who was still catching his breath beside her, and a wave of gratitude washed over her. They had faced danger together and emerged stronger. She had faced danger and won. In that stillness, she reflected on how far she had come in such a short time. The wedding she had once dreaded felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by her newfound courage and the realization that she could forge her own path. The chains of expectation had shattered, and in their place lay endless possibilities. The forest around them seemed to exhale as well, its leaves whispering softly in the breeze. This was her chance to embrace the life she had always imagined, one filled with adventure and independence. She thought of all the dreams she had shelved away during her uncertainty about marriage and smiled at the thought of pursuing them. With a deep breath, she took a step forward, feeling lighter than ever before. "Let's ride," she said to Liam, determination gleaming in her eyes. Together they mounted their horses, ready to set off into the unknown. As they galloped away from the chaos behind them, she felt empowered by her choices and hopeful for what lay ahead. A new chapter waiting to be written with courage, freedom, and adventure guiding her every move.